Return of the Mount Hua Sect, Chapter 169. Still, I'll walk together with you. Ah! I found it! I found it! The Soul Vitality Pill! This is insane! The Soul Vitality Pill was really here! Baekchun rushed to Chungmyeong, who had fallen on his butt, and quickly grabbed the box. Splash. Chungmyeong had fallen into the water, but no one paid attention to him. With his eyes blank, he only looked at the box. If it's a Soul Vitality secret formula, this must be the method and recipe, right, Sasuke? Right, as if it could be something else. To think we'd eventually find this. Ah, Sect Leader, we did it! Shh. At that time, Yu Yi-sol signaled for them to be silent and whispered, Sahyung, there may still be people around. Treasures evoke anger in others. No one can be allowed to know what we found. Ah, right. Baekchun quickly closed his mouth and the box as well. He didn't feel the presence of anyone else, but he wanted to be extra certain. What do we do now? Right. Shouldn't we take this to Mount Hua? Right, I guess so. Not even Baekchun could hide his shock and confusion at this moment. Chungmyeong had suddenly stridden up the mountain and pulled out a box of Soul Vitality pills out of such an unexpected place. Wouldn't anyone be in shock? Chungmyeong, you brat, you did well. Huh? Chungmyeong? Baekchun looked over to find Chungmyeong half submerged in the water with bubbles leaking from his mouth. Shocked, Baekchun quickly rushed to his side. Hey, what are you doing? G. Having barely regained consciousness, Chungmyeong trembled and looked at Baekchun. Your junior is dying! Your junior is dying over here and you're only focused on the pills? Who could have imagined you would drown like that? I'm not talking to you. Chungmyeong raised himself up with a groan. His clothes were all wet, but that didn't matter now. Give it here! Chungmyeong took the box from Baekchun's hand. Then he took a deep breath as he carefully opened the box. Once again, an indescribable aroma penetrated the atmosphere. This is absolutely genuine. Usually, let alone fake pills, even the supreme pill of Mount Hua didn't have such a clear scent in the past. This isn't something that could be faked. Chungmyeong took several deep breaths before looking again at the pill recipe book. Carefully, he took the book out and closed the box. After shoving the container into his sleeve, he began to read the book's contents and spoke aloud with a trembling voice. To the person who passed. Oh. Mount Hua's disciples all listened with the utmost excitement. If you understand the meaning behind my arrangements and have reached this point, then you're entitled to follow my progress. My research and the pills developed should be used to save the many people of the world. Oh. It is the real pill and recipe. Chungmyeong closed the book. In addition, there were a few other messages along with the formula for several pills, including the Soul Vitality pill. The various achievements and medicinal research Yaksun had accomplished in life were included. But Yaksun would have never imagined that all of his hard work and achievements would fall into the hands of someone completely different from his hopes, despite all of his complex arrangements. Chungmyeong smiled and snickered. Without realizing it, he had begun laughing uncontrollably. Chungmyeong couldn't contain his laughter. He took out the box and put the book back into it before shoving it into his sleeve and tying it to his clothes. His chest was already bulging from the pilfered night lamps, making a strange clinking sound when he moved. But who cares? His heart was filled with unprecedented warmth. I feel so good, I wouldn't even mind sharing a drink with the sect leader of the Jungnam sect. Right, have a drink. That's what life is about. What? Plum blossom sword. Ah, it's fine. It isn't like you people can use it properly anyway, can you? Chungmyeong, now the pill. No, the Soul Vitality. Baekchun shook his head. He's completely lost it. But that feeling was understandable. Even Baekchun lost control of himself a moment ago. Oh my god, the Soul Vitality pill. They came all the way here to get this, but they never thought they would be able to get away with it. Despite his words, Baekchun was constantly observing the outline of the box on Chongmyung's bulging chest. Chongmyung said with a serious face, "But people should still be reasonable." Huh? Chongmyung turned and slowly bowed toward the source from where the box was extracted. After bowing and paying his respects, he looked at the water source. "This is no tomb. What is this? A temple?" "No." Chongmyung shook his head. "This is Yaksun's tomb." Huh? Yaksun's body may have been buried somewhere else. Maybe there was no proper grave. Life would have been meaningless to Yaksun once he passed on his legacy and pill recipes. Perhaps he died alone in the depths of some unknown mountains, untouched by anyone. His body may not be buried here, but there was meaning that he had left behind. It wouldn't be strange to call this place his tomb. What truly mattered was his intention and will. "That's enough." Chongmyung turned around without hesitation. Yaksun's techniques were there. However, there was no need for Chongmyung to continue his will. But Yunjong couldn't help himself from asking, "Can we take this to Mount Hua? I don't think this is what the deceased will want." Mount Hua is a martial sect. However, Yaksun didn't want the pill to fall into the hands of such a sect. He hoped that someone, following his will, would receive his legacy. However, Chongmyung bluntly answered, "I don't care." "What?" "Yaksun took a gamble. It's irresponsible to expect the person that finds his legacy would carry on his will just because he made some arrangements. Still, if Yaksun wanted his will to be continued, he should have given it to one of his disciples who could have carried it on, rather than leave it around like this." Chongmyung shut his mouth. "Someday you will want to do it. The day when your sajes and sajos and your descendants will inherit your will in martial arts." That was how martial sects were. Living together wasn't everything. What was more important was for the will to be carried on. Chongmyung closed his eyes. "This is what you meant, Sahyung." Last night's dream. That must have been what the dream was relaying to him. "Were you so worried about this wicked saje of yours?" Chongmyung bit his lip. "Chongmyung." It's nothing." Chongmyung stopped the tears gathering in his eyes to keep the Sahyungs from seeing and continued in a lowered voice. "I'll tell you this. Even if you don't believe it, the ability may be lacking. But if people continue to carry on my will from generation to generation, then one day there will be a person that can fully connect to that will and respond with the proper ability. That is what a sect is. That." Chongmyung turned his head and looked at the rock. Yaksun didn't trust those who would carry on his will. He must have wanted a genius that could fully capture his abilities and will in the same way Yaksun could. That's why he did this. But it wasn't the right way. Those who are alone have no choice but look down on others. In the eyes of a genius like Yaksun, everyone in the world seemed to be lacking. He believed that those around him couldn't show his work's worth and that only a true genius like himself could inherit his legacy, just like Chongmyung once believed. However, you were wrong. In the past, Chongmyung was wrong. No, rather than being wrong, he simply didn't know. One day, those pitiful people will become precious to you. Chongmyung clenched his fist. "Now I know, Sahyung." "Huh? Me?" Chongmyung had a sour expression as he looked at Yunjong, who was pointing at himself. "No, I don't think I know it yet." Anyway, this was something that Chongmyung couldn't do alone. If his Sahyungs hadn't spoken with him and worked together, Chongmyung would have headed back to Mount Hua without ever realizing anything. Those weak people supported Chongmyung. Right, this. Chongmyung opened his mouth with a slightly awkward tone. "You all did well." "Oh? Have you lost it? Did he go crazy? Why is he acting so out of character? He must want that pill. Ugh, these bastards." Chongmyung closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Who could he blame? It was all because of Chongmyung. Chongmyung looked at the rock and thought of Yaksun's will. Maybe you made the best choice too. Who knows whether it was right or wrong, because I don't know everything either. But still, I will walk together with you. I will no longer walk alone. I will no longer solve things on my own. Now Chongmyung had people who would carry on his will and fulfill that will alongside him. Right, that's a martial sect. That is Mount Hua. Yaksun's will shall be severed here. What Yaksun tried to leave behind in the world would no longer have meaning. His will merely led to Cheongmyeong, and Cheongmyeong would not follow Yaksun's will. However, Cheongmyeong was different. His will would be continued. As long as Mount Hua existed, and as long as the will of Mount Hua lived on. Even if he died or 100 years passed, Cheongmyeong's will would endure. And as long as Mount Hua continues, Sahyong's will remains within me, right, Sahyong? No response could be heard, but Cheongmyeong already knew the answer. He didn't need to regret nor long for the past. The will of Mount Hua that they risked their lives for was being guarded by Cheongmyeong. Simply carrying Mount Hua's name until the end, like his Sahyongs that had left before him, was enough for Cheongmyeong. And now, Cheongmyeong looked at the Sahyongs in front of him. Now, he was walking with them. Sasuk! Yes, Cheongmyeong smiled brightly. Now was the time to go, back to that place he missed. A place that made him warm with just a thought. Let's return, back to Mount Hua. Everyone nodded with a smile. At that moment, their long journey to Nanyang finally came to an end.